every day I believe that. And even settling into that, like, I just use the word crazy. Like, it's not crazy.
It's not crazy. It's on its way. It's in the
Yeah.
vortex in your escrow account and it's on its way.
Yes, sister. Yes.
Mhm.
Okay.
It's coming. It's interesting that so many people, this is why I think so many people, and well, this kind of answers another question that someone had, is so many people get focused on the how they're going to do something that they don't take action. They get paralyzed, And this is one of their questions because I don't think you need to have the how fixed because it all manifests itself. If you start taking action in that direction and you hold the vision of the big goal, the big dream, whatever it is that's important to you, as you start taking, like, I actually have no idea what the next exact step is for me in real estate. Like, I don't want to just keep buying properties, right? And literally, so I've just been interviewing people and talking to people, and I'm like, there's so many things I didn't even know existed in this freaking space, right? Like
Yeah.
literally, I was like, I interviewed a guy and then I interviewed more people that work in that same business, they're partners. And I'm like, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I just think that we just have to keep moving, if that makes sense, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And then so there's two questions that Sherry also had that kind of go with what we're talking about. She said, how can women confidently step into visibility and leadership to attract private capital, even when they haven't done a big deal yet? Or she said, what's the best way to overcome fear of perfectionism that holds women back from launching their first investor pitch and showing up in front of others, which I think kind of go together and what we're talking about here, not knowing the how. I think we just go, but I want you to answer this.
Yeah. So, it's fascinating. So for 9 years, I was an executive coach and I specifically helped women in their career pivots. I helped women get promoted. I helped them move companies, move industries. And I worked mostly with high performers. So a lot of like directors, VPs, C-suite. And what's crazy is, no, I'm going to stop using that word. What is fascinating and interesting is in 2018, I had over 100 conversations and I started hearing the same thing. I saw a pattern. And so, in fact, I started tracking it, Colleen. I would ask people, what is it that you want for your life or career? Every single person, and this is when I was still coaching some men, but let's take out the handful of men, still over 100 women that I talked to. Every single one of them had an answer. Some people had like a little nugget. Some people had like full blown, this is exactly what I want. And then I would ask them, what is it that's holding you back? And as I started tracking this, I had, through my own original research, realized that 96% of them were saying that they felt like a lack of confidence is what held them back.
Mhm.
So I dug into this whole idea of confidence because I was like, oh my goodness, what are we as women not building, creating, doing? Where are we not speaking up? Where are we not raising our hand? What are we not modeling for the people around us? Like, I just started thinking, what is the ripple that is supposed to happen that's not happening because we're stopping ourselves? And what's really interesting about these women that I was talking to is that some of them were college educated, some of them weren't. Some of them were making multiple high six figures, some of them were not. They were from coast to coast, different backgrounds, different ethnicities, different races, right? Different ages between 30 and 60. Like, it literally didn't matter. And so I dug into confidence and I was like, how do I help change this? And so, one of the things that I always teach women is when you're standing on this precipice of the scary thing, you have to realize that you can't wait to do the hard thing when you feel confident. You have to do the hard thing and then you grow your confidence muscle. It's a muscle. It's like getting your biceps to work. I can't sit on my sofa and get stronger in my biceps so I can make sure I can, tuck the my carry on the plane for my next trip. I got to go to the gym, I got to work out, and then I do it. What's cool though about confidence is this: we have been building our confidence our entire lives. What happens though is that we typically go from thing to thing to thing, and our confidence is like it's that thing in the garage, right? Like everybody has the garage, the part of their garage that's like the pile that's maybe a little musty and it's got some cobwebs and it's like the part that is dusty and everybody in the family avoids. Well, that's the thing. All of our moments and experiences where we've built our confidence in the past, they're sitting in that garage. And we're forgetting them because we're on to the next thing. And so what I teach women to do is put together a confidence resume. And it's to pull out all of those things and ask yourselves, what are those hard things that I've done? What are those badass things that I've accomplished? When are the moments that I've done something, even though I was scared or nervous or anxious? Pull all of those things out. Put on your list times that you failed, but you learned something. Maybe something that you've done that you never need to do again, but when you look back, it pushed you. It made you grow your confidence muscle. Write it down, and we call it a resume because it's something that you continuously add to throughout your whole life. But then the next time, Sherry, when you're ready to go pitch your deal, maybe you haven't done this 100 times. Maybe you haven't pitch something big, but you have done other hard things. So you look at this resume, you look at everything that's written on it, and maybe you even take only two or three of them and you really put yourself back into the place. And what's cool about our brains is our brains don't know if we are doing something live in real time or if we're visualizing or if we're remembering. So take that moment where you were like, oh my gosh, I totally crushed it. Close your eyes, set a timer for 60 seconds, put yourself back into that, think about it, remember it, how you felt, who was there, what you did, connect with it. Because what will happen is the energy in your body will all align. Like literally, there's science behind it, and I don't always understand the science, but your cells will think it's happening right now and it will give you a boost of confidence. And then you take that and you say, okay, now I'm going to go do this. Now, of course, the other way that you build confidence and you feel confident when you're pitching something is you've practiced it. And that practice, so if our confidence resume is about looking back, our practicing is about visualizing. If you ask Beyonce, how did you go out? She'll tell you. There's interviews you can find. She said, oh, that wasn't my first time on that stage. I've practiced that in my head 1,000 times. So I've seen what it was like when I was going to perform at the Super Bowl. I saw it in my head before I ever got there. And that breeds confidence as well. But there's cool things you can do with your brain to be like, yeah, no, we've already been here. Because what happens when you get nervous is your brain typically says, I haven't been here. And then it gets paralyzed. Um, and the other thing you've got to do, and this is specifically on a pitch. So I used to be in fundraising, in nonprofit philanthropic fundraising. And I used to teach people how to do our pitch, how to go out and talk to donors, how to speak. And I remember I had this one woman who worked for me. She's incredible. She's the CEO of a nonprofit now. And she said, oh, I'm so worried about messing this up. She hated public speaking. And I said, Ruthie, no one knows what you're supposed to say. So if you miss something, no one's going to know, just you. So then next time you'll do it differently. But like knowing that even if you get it wrong, it's still going to be okay.
I love that. Yeah. And literally, they don't know what you're supposed to say.
Oh,
And when I was new at real estate, because I left teaching to become a real estate agent 20 some years ago, and I would go to the table and then I wouldn't get the contract signed, right? And then they would say, oh, we're going to think about it, but then they'd sign with someone else, you know? Well, there's a $20,000, $30,000 mistake, right? And so I'm like, okay, I think the problem is I'm practicing with when I'm sitting down with the client. I think I need to practice at home And I started practicing at home, and I actually listened to recordings of every objection that you could possibly have. That there's no other, there's only like five things people are going to object to, right? And so
Yeah.
I started memorizing the response to all of those until I could just say it in my sleep, in my, like, with, you know what I'm saying? And so then I got better and better because if, like sports teams and like Beyonce, they don't, that's not, yeah, she visualized herself there at the Super Bowl a ton of times, not, it's not their first rodeo. They don't practice with their clients. They don't practice at the championship game. They've been practicing that whether it's a hockey or the throw for basketball, that skill set over and over again. And then we think that we're just going to be able to be like, oh, I went to this little seminar and I got my real estate license. I went to this one class and I got my license. I can open a lockbox now. And I can read the contract, right? And it's like, yeah, it doesn't work like that because somebody that's been doing it for 10, 15, 20 years, they're interviewing them too. And they know if you don't leave with the contract signed, you got nothing.
That's right. Well, and one of my favorite things that Amy Majuri teaches, who, has taught me about raising money and capital in this real estate world, which isn't that different from fundraising, but I needed someone to tell me that it wasn't, is one of her favorite lines is my standard process is the next step, we get this paperwork signed. My standard process is, especially when it's like the scary thing. So my standard
Hmm.
process, the next step in my process is, and it's something about giving yourself permission to be like, yeah, no, this is what I do. That almost releases you from saying, do you want to buy? Do you want to sign this? Right? Like,
Hmm.
because if you worked at a company, let's put ourselves back in our W-2, if you had to do something like that, there probably would be like, so our standard process is you do this. I'm like, this is genius. Why wouldn't I steal this for my own business? So now I say it all the time. And it's funny because my husband, Shane, also says it all the time. I'll listen to him be on the phone, whether he is pitching for private money lending or he's talking to a business about helping them consult with the business. He's even started doing it. He's looking at a few businesses to buy. Like he'll just tell the broker, well, my standard process is da 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 da. And
That.
it's just genius. And it kind of makes you feel like because sometimes we get, especially if we're solopreneurs, we get in the land of like, oh my gosh, I can't do that. And this is a one way of making it feel and seem not in a negative way, but like we're bigger than we are. Because of
Hmm.
course we're a business, we have standard processes. Of
Hmm.
course, if we're a realtor, the standard process is we've got to get the deal signed before we go show you houses because I'm not going to take you out and show you houses for you to go buy it for somebody else. You're going to sign the agreement that says you're going to work with me for 6 months and I'm going to, yes, of course.
Yes. Yeah, yeah, and it's interesting. We have so much self-doubt in the beginning of being a solopreneur that I think that we just don't realize that all those things we learned in our W-2s, in our like when I was a teacher, like we had standard operating procedures. I had to turn in lesson plans and report
Right.
back, and they came and watched me, made sure I'm fulfilling state standards and district standards, and like there's all these things like we just have to make sure that we do that in our own businesses and know that that's normal. And if you want to scale, you need to have standard operating procedures so you can hire people and they can actually implement the things that you want done.
That's absolutely right. That's absolutely right.
Yeah, Amy Majori, she's awesome. I don't know her well, but I think she's a dynamo. I don't
She's
know
a
her, but
total dynamo and she's a mentor and she's become a friend. And I admire her so much. I think that if you're in real estate investing and you need to learn how to raise capital, she's the best at teaching it. Um, and yeah, I mean, last night on Trailblazers, we hosted her and she taught all about raising private money and uh she's a dynamo. And again, going back to having friends that get it. One of the things that's hit me recently, one of the limiting beliefs that I've just recently realized that I have is that because I made mistakes early on as an entrepreneur and I saw them as failures, I didn't say, like, oh, that was a failing moment. I
Mhm.
have labeled myself, I am a failure at doing X because I've made a mistake before. And and I didn't realize that it was holding me back on some of the growth that I'm trying to have. And so even again, getting yourself in a room with other people who've either gone before you, right? We need peers that are in the same place as us, and we need friends who are a little bit above us, and then we need friends who are a little behind us so we can take them as well, right? It's kind of that's the three levels of people you want to surround yourself with. And you know, I I had to face like again, if I called one of my girlfriends who is very successful, she's an executive, but if I said like, here's what I'm dealing with in my business, she'd be like, I don't get it. Like, it's a mistake. You made it. But when it's your mistake and it's your business, you think you can't make that mistake again in the future. And so yeah,
It's
anywho,
blurry.
it's blurry. It
It's
is.
blurry. It's very blurry. In fact, that goes to another question I want to ask you, just really quick here.
Ah,
Like, how do you navigate the time between the setback and the comeback?
ooh, girl, that is a good question. Um, I have to take time to give myself, but I do not let grass grow under my feet. Um, so if there's something that is not going well, like let's say, for example, that I had a deal that fell through, I might give myself a break on that part and doing another deal,
Hmm.
but I'm not going to take a break on finding the right partner or um, updating some other part of my business that also makes me money. So it, you cannot let too much grass grow. You have to, as Cody Sanchez fast, you have to move fast and you have to fail forward and fail fast. And that is not always easy. And so sometimes I will, um, I'll go eat sushi because I need a little sushi night. Um, Sometimes I will, take a morning off and just go do something like take a walk, or I'll go to the Arboretum here in Dallas, or like Friday. Like I'm not kidding. One of the things I love is jewelry. And I've been facing some challenges lately. I'm gonna go on Friday with my best friend to our jeweler, and I'm not probably going to buy anything because I'm not really in the budget right now, but I'm going to go try on as many pretty diamonds as I can. And it may sound silly, but it's a little bit of
Doesn't
a,
sound silly to me. I love jewelry.
I
I got
mean, I'm
jewelry.
obsessed with jewelry. And, but it's like, it gives me a dopamine hit and it makes me feel good. And there will be something that I pick out that I'm like, okay, when I hit my next thing, then I'm going to buy this for myself. It looks different for everybody, but I do think you have to have downtime. For those people who are like, I work 70 hours a week, I'm like, why? Like, why are you doing that? It doesn't make sense to me because either you're doing it because you're not making enough, or you're doing it and you're making plenty of money, which means you need another who in your business. So I cannot I don't believe in this whole like tech startup, Silicon Valley, like, you have to work 40 hours a day. Like, no, that's not why I got into this. Because in fact, um, I'd rather just go work for somebody else if I had to work that much. I need time to disconnect and re be with myself.
And have fun. I don't believe in grind culture either. Man, if I'm feeling like that, this is something I learned from Thatch, the guy I went to. He said aligned. He goes, if you're feeling like that and out of alignment, take a break. Don't make any more calls. Go to the beach. Go for a run. Go for a sauna. Go for a massage. Whatever. You know what I'm saying? Journal. Go serve someone. He says, and then come back and make your calls. He goes, you want to have aligned action, not grind
Yes.
culture. And
Yes. Well, and
Mhm.
one of the things that I think people is like the easiest thing to do, because there are probably some people who are like, I can't afford a massage or I don't, whatever. Like, all you need to do is go take a walk.
It's
There's,
free.
it's free.
Mhm.
Um, I cannot tell you how many uh bouts of clarity I've gotten, how many like times I've gotten to listen to my intuition, how many like just taking a walk,
Mhm.
especially outside. Like just go for a walk, even if it's 10 minutes. There's something magical about taking a walk.
Yeah, I agree. Because emotions are connected to our emotions. So when you move, motion and emotion or the words are together. And when you move your body, it changes your emotions. Yeah, that word emotion has the word motion in it. So if you want to change your emotions, you need to. I used to do coaching. I think maybe I should do coaching again. I don't know. I just had
Maybe.
this thought. I don't know, just while we're talking. That's so weird. Anyway, yeah, interesting. Because I learned so much, and I used to do that. Once Carter had cancer, I quit doing almost everything. I would say almost everything. And I don't know. It's interesting, huh?
That was the season, but now you're in a different season.
Yeah,
Maybe.
everyone's good.
Yeah.
And
Marinate on that.
I got to marinate on that. I have to think about that. The question, another question, I think everyone should go for a walk, whether it's on a beach, in a park, in your neighborhood. Doesn't even have to be anywhere special. It could just be right at your house. Like, go for a walk. I love going for a walk, except for taking my dogs sometimes. Ugh. I love them. I love taking them, but they listen to John really well. They don't love me that much. They love John. Well, it's because I can't remember all the stuff you're supposed to remember to say to them. Because they, there's like we paid for them to go. They went for two
Like the
weeks.
command.
Like the commands, yeah, yeah. You know, it's like, what are you supposed to say? Stop. It's not stop. It's place or with me. But they have commands, and I can't. There's five of them, and I can always remember something that's not the right one, so they don't listen. Oh
I
my
love
gosh.
it.
Anyway, my show is called Born to Be Brave. And so I love, 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 because I believe everyone's living below their true potential. And so we were born to be brave and take more inspired action. What's a time that you feel comfortable sharing with us here and our audience about a time you were brave in your life?
Yeah. Um, I think that I had to be really brave when I left my W-2. So I believed in college that the way I was going to change the world was working for a nonprofit. And I got a nonprofit job. I literally graduated on Saturday and went to work on Monday. I was very good at fundraising. I quickly moved up the ladder and then was recruited to multiple jobs. At 34, I was an executive, corner office, like so cliche. Um, and I worked with mostly women donors, and they were bold and they were powerful and they made a lot of money. And I could see that they had seats at the table and positions of power and they could use their voice. And I remember sitting in a meeting. We were in the middle of a capital campaign, so we were raising a big chunk of money. And I was looking through a list and I just thought, I cannot do this anymore. I do not want to do this. I was crying in my corner office every single day. And the thing about it was, I was 35 at the time. My career completely defined me. I had not had any kids. Um, I was the friend in the group that like kept getting promoted and had a cool job and did cool things with it. And I defined myself by my job. And I went on a trip with my mom and my grandmother. My mom was like, something is wrong. Like, something's off. Like, what's wrong? And I said, oh, I hate this job. But I was only 10 months in. And I thought, it'll get better. It'll get better when it hits a year. It'll get better when I fill this role on my team. Like, it'll get better. And I got home from the trip. I went to the dentist, and my blood pressure was in the danger zone. My hygienist looked at me and said, I think something's wrong. And it was my mom and having this, medical professional saying, like, I think something's wrong. But I allowed myself to face it. had a conversation with my husband. And mind you, not everyone can do this, and I understand that. But I also couldn't be the number two person and then figure out what I wanted to do in my life. And so on a Monday, I decided that I was going to quit my job. On Thursday, I resigned with my CEO. In fact, it was 10 years ago coming up next week. May 3rd is the day that I resigned, and May 30th was my last day. And Colleen, I had never had more than 2 business days off between jobs, like literally from the time I graduated college to this role. Never taken more than 2 business days off. And my CEO asked me, she said, "Where are you going?" I said, "I don't know. I don't have a job. Just done with this." And a board member who I had worked with for almost a decade, who I was a very successful woman, worked for a Fortune 5 company, told me, "This is the biggest mistake you'll ever make in your career." And it took some therapy for me to even get over her saying that to me. But I am so glad that I was brave enough to say I wanted something different and that I did it. And it wasn't easy. And I went through a whole lot of messy middle to discover who I was and what I wanted. But 10 years out from that, I am so glad that I did it because life is too short to stay in a place where you're not meant to be. And it was a weird place because it was literally the intersection of everything I ever wanted. And this isn't it at all. So that was brave of me to just face that and say, you know what, I'm going to go do something else. What I also learned, even now, if I wanted to go back to nonprofit fundraising, I bet I could make 4 calls in this city and I'd have a job in 90 days or less. So sometimes they don't tell you that you can go back in certain situations, but you can.
Yeah, I agree. Thanks. That's powerful. Thanks for sharing that.
Thank you, lady.
Yeah. And I think that everyone told me I was crazy when I quit my job. I mean, you went to school, you have your degree, you have your credential, you work for, you're the best teacher. Like, oh my gosh, are you crazy? You have the best schedule, right? Like, and you're going to go to a commission job. And then I remember when the market crashed and so many people like, you hope you still have your credential so you can go back and get your job back. And I'm like, no, I let my credential go. I'm never going back to teaching.
Right. Oh,
I remember when it came time to not do any more professional development, and I like for sure I'm going to let my credential go. And they're like, "Oh, that's the worst decision of your life." I'm like, "You guys have no idea what you're talking about."
oh, lady. In 2019, I got a call. So I had been out of fundraising for 4 or 5 years. I got a call, and the call was for a position, for a chief development officer position, and the starting pay was $325,000. And even my husband looked at me and said, "Are you sure you don't want to do this?" And I was like, "No, I don't. Like, I'm all in on myself. I'm all in on what I'm building." And for some people, that would have been the right thing to do. And so I'm not saying like, your North Star, not everyone has the same vision, and not everyone has the same role in life, and not everyone is in the same season. But when you are in a season where things aren't lining up, it's like you said, you were in a season where you're like, "I'm just going to make this one change and everything else will change." No, the change you had to make was on yourself.
It was me. I was the
It was
problem in
you,
everything.
right? And so like even though I left the job, like the work that I had to do was all internal. It was all
Mhm.
around my own worthiness. It was all around what I believe for myself, like, right? Like
Mhm.
the hardest thing about being an entrepreneur is you're your own mind block. You're your own setback. You know, you have to do a lot of mindset work, I believe, to be an entrepreneur. but
Yeah.
it's worth it because it's cool. Because now I know myself. And I don't think if I stayed working for someone else, even if I had gone on to be a CEO, which that was my goal was to be a CEO for a nonprofit before I was 40, like it still would have been different. It just would have been different. And crazy enough, in 2023, I got a call. This was right. I had just told my husband I was going to do real estate investing with him, which is funny because now we don't really work on any projects together. But I got a call from a woman who had started a nonprofit and she had built it. And she said, I want to hire you as my CEO. And I said, I can't. That's not where I'm going. And it was so hard to turn down because I was like,
That
"Ooh,
was your
maybe."
old goal.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that whole idea of letting go of who you thought you were supposed to be, that can be a kick in the pants. But it's worth it.
Yeah. I see a lot of younger people, my kids' age, some of my kids' age, 'cause I have kids in their 30s and, 30s and approaching 40, because I'm older. And so I guess not crazy, but I see so many of them are unhappy in their jobs and their path because they did what was we told our kids go to school, get a job,
Yeah.
because that's what my parents were, got jobs and professionals went to school and did all that, right? So it's interesting today. I would give very different advice, So someone said that that's the way to go, and it's like, well, everyone's on their own path, and I think you can even be like, let's say you love your W-2, or even if you hate it and you don't want to make the big leap, you can passively invest in Caitie's deals, my deals, other people's deals. Like, you don't have to make a big leap, but I just know that you have made the big leap. I made a big leap, and like the reason I think, attracted to you as a person is because like my goals like scare the crap out of most people, right? The stuff I want to do. I have spoken one time in front of 10,000 people. And like that is for me, it's the craziest thing. And I want to get back into speaking more. I haven't done a lot. I told you I put everything on hold for a while, but you couldn't even see the people. So it didn't matter. They were all out there because there were so many lights on me. This is what I remember. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? Because you can't see them. Because for me, I couldn't really see the few people in the front I could see
Yeah.
doing
Yeah.
things,
I
but
had
there were
never thought about that. You're totally right. And
you
I love
can't see them.
connecting with the audience. That's so funny.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
can't see them because there's so many lights
Yeah.
that you don't see them. So you just see the first few rows. Yeah, I did that. John reminded me. I forgot I did that. It's a long story, but anyway, I just think that I love you, and I'm really, really
I
grateful
love
that you
that.
came on the show.
Thank you. I'm so grateful for our time together today. And I hope that a couple people will get some nuggets out of this. And if they do, they should let us know what the nuggets are.
Yeah, in
What
the
they got out of it.
comments, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And then where can people find you, Caytie? Because I just love you and I want people to be able to reach out and connect with you if they want.
Yes. So you can definitely find me on Instagram and Facebook. Instagram is probably the easiest way. If you Facebook message me, if you Facebook friend request me, it might not get answered. I think I have like 400 people sitting in my Facebook friend request right now, which is a little overwhelming to me. So I kind of just ignore it. But Instagram is the best place. And then if you're a woman in investing and you just feel lonely or you need support, if you need a safe space, especially if you are wondering, like, how do I create this business around what I'm great at? So many of us, we start an LLC and then we have no idea what we actually want. Join Trailblazers, Women in Real Estate Investing. It's a Facebook group. We have calls every Monday night. I speak. We bring in other speakers. We do networking, and the community is free to join. And I will tell you some of the things that we have planned over the next couple of years. We are definitely working on elevating women and elevating women's voices. And so we have some big announcements that are going to be coming out soon. And so yeah, if you're feeling like, oh my gosh, I don't want to do this alone, come hang out with us because we'd love to have you.
Yeah, it's a very supportive community. And that's my big overarching goal is to help women invest over 40 and to live the life they're meant to live, but to use real estate as a vehicle for freedom. And it's never too late, right? It's never too late to start. And
Absolutely.
yeah, so they can find you on Trailblazers, Instagram, most like those are your two best places,
Yeah.
right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Especially if you want me to respond. Facebook, I might respond, but it could take like 10 weeks. Who knows? Um, I just, those Facebook messengers, there's just so many like,
Spammers and
yeah,
weirdos.
and weirdos. Yeah. So I
Yeah,
try to avoid it sometimes.
wow. Like,
Yes.
oh, you're a little creepy. Thank you very much. Yeah, I
Yes.
don't check that very much either. I do Instagram, and I do Facebook too, but
I'm on Facebook all the time.
mhm.
But again, like if you're on Facebook and you want us, get in Trailblazers. That's how you'll get my attention in there.
You guys join Trailblazers. The women there are freaking incredible. And I want to meet Amy Majori sometime too, because I
Yes.
think she's awesome because she is kick butt and she's been through a lot. I love resilient women.
Yes. Well, I tell you what, she has her Raising Private Money event, which is June 15th and 16th
Oh my
in
God.
West Palm Beach. And
Mhm.
I'm actually speaking at it.
You are?
When I Amy, I told her, I said, one of my goals is to get on your stage. And I'm super excited. I'm speaking. There are some other amazing speakers. Of course, Amy will speak. Jen Gottlieb, who is a phenomenal
Mhm.
motivational speaker, she's speaking. Heather Blankenship is speaking. Some other cool real estate folks. So, yeah, if you want to meet Amy, that's the best way. Get in that room. And it's small. She only takes 200 people. That's it. So, it's a good time.
Okay. You guys, I would highly recommend me. I'm going to see if I can go, and then you guys should check your calendar and see if you can go. Thanks, gorgeous.
Thank you, lady. I appreciate you.
I appreciate you. This was fun.
It was awesome. This is exactly what I needed today. I didn't even know it, but
It,
it's like
I,
just filled my cup.
isn't that good?